voices rise from different lands, guided by the moon with open hands. In the circle we unite as one, sharing wisdom under the sun. Divine feminine voices, we are free. Three hearts, one spirit in harmony. On this journey, our truths we share. In the light of love, we are always there.
All right, we are now live.
Yes, we are. Good morning, good afternoon.
Whatever time of day it is for you. We should start with introductions.
Good morning, good afternoon. Oops, sorry, I was just checking to see if we were live, and we are.
All right. Cheryl, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hey, everybody. My name is Cheryl Cooper. I am the person behind the name TheCherylCooper.com, which is really CLC Consulting Group. I am a mindfulness facilitator as well as a holistic business coach and a Kajabi expert. I'm here after being in corporate America for 25 years, stressed out, overwhelmed, and became friends with this beautiful group of women where we are now sharing our story across the world. So that's a brief introduction. That's it for now.
Elizabeth?
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Sanchez, and I am the founder of the Magnificent Mamas. I've been in the holistic healing industry for nearly 30 years, but who's counting? It's just who I am, what I do, but I love to help people get past their energetic blocks to live their best life. And I'm super excited to be here with you too, because I love the connection and the community that we have created. And I'm grateful to share with the world because I think we have some really sizzling hot topics to talk about.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'm Larissa Russell of Heart Centered Academy, and was previously Creative You and Creative You Business were merged and become about the healing that entrepreneurs need to be doing, especially women, that self-awareness that we need to be able to move forward in our businesses. And yes, so I am also very excited to be here. And Elizabeth, this was your idea. So do you want to tell people why? No? Was it yours, Cheryl?
It was mine.
Okay, it was Cheryl's. Sorry,
It
Cheryl.
was
Do you want to
mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, for many years, we've gotten together and we've had these incredible conversations. We actually have a mastermind between the three of us. And if you all aren't familiar with masterminds, it's a place where you do a collaboration about businesses and how you can grow your business and move it forward. Basically, it's under the thought leadership, or was created by the mastermind people. Forget the name right now. And I was like, you guys, look, we have these amazing conversations. We should share them with the world, especially because we come from very diverse backgrounds, very diverse philosophies in the way that we live our lives, sort of. And we should share this with everybody that we can, because we actually have what is truly a bond that came out of nowhere. I shouldn't say nowhere because it's built over the time, but it is an allyship that, for me as a Black female, really truly shows up as having allies. And I've never had that type of relationship since I was a kid growing up in Colorado. So that's kind of how it was birthed. And you guys were like, yeah, let's do it, especially after our last conversation around politics and all the stuff that was going on that day. So a couple months ago, we were like, yeah, let's do this.
And here we are doing it.
And here we are.
Yeah. And the beautiful thing about it is that we've got so much creativity between us. So Larissa put together a lot of the graphics, and we went together and used AI to create our music. And it's just been a fun process. Okay, I'm done.
Well, and I also want to just add to that, because I think what we have found within one another and the connection that we have is we've put our egos aside. So the
Mm,
ego mind doesn't show up. We hold each other in a space, we see each other and for who we are, but we help heal some of those traumas that we might see. So the beautiful thing that we can put something together like this, collaboratively, and not feel like one's in more control than another. We are showing up with our stronger selves. That, like, Larissa's great at creativity, so she took that role. We can take on different roles, and we're not tug of warring about it. And I think that that's something unique with women, where we are allowed to show up. Our best self is showing up, but our worst self could show up and say, hey, I'm not good at that. And it's okay.
Or I'm just not good today.
Yeah.
We've
yeah.
also had those conversations where it's just, we doesn't matter what's going on in our lives. Like we've been together for what, 4 or 5 years now? I don't even know.
Since
We're
COVID.
going on 5. Yeah.
Yeah. And meeting weekly, and we've had other people come in. There were other people to begin with, and we've had people come and go throughout, and the 3 of us have stayed strong, working on our businesses, but working on ourselves as we meet every single week, barring any, life incidents. And we've actually been there for each other through so many different things. So many different things, not just COVID, but deaths and family issues and business ups and downs. And you are people that I can celebrate with, which is different than being able to count on people when things are bad, right? But I can celebrate with you, and you will celebrate me, and I will celebrate you. And I love that about us.
Yeah. It's really a very special bond between us. And you talk about living through the ups and downs. Like we have gone through everything that you can imagine, almost everything. I'm sure there's some other things. But one of the things that's gone strong, and where I'm going to go with this, I always bring it up, is this whole freaking menopause stage, which has taken us through our individuals' ups and downs,
Mhm.
whether it be emotional or physical or mental. And there are so many times when you all just lifted me up when I was hitting the ground, laying down, like, oh my God, is this ever going to change? And, Elizabeth would lay hands on me and do a Reiki treatment from where she is. Larissa would just pray over me or do whatever she does to work her magic to lift us all up. And it's always such a beautiful experience. Always such a beautiful experience. And Elizabeth, when you were going through one of your most trying times, we were there, like giving you a great big huge hug. Huge
Mhm.
hug from
Yeah.
across
Yeah. The loss of my dad being sick, just allowing me to come in as my hot mess, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what's beautiful, that we've created this relationship through all different borders. We're in different walks of life, we've all lived and stepped different journeys, but and I think that was when we recognized that we still stayed here for one another, in spite of the challenges, in spite of seeing the ugly parts and the ugly cries come out, right? Um, and I think that that's true friendship. But we didn't come into this circle as friends. We came in because we were looking for business mentors, or women who were also doing their best at their business, not always just killing it and making incredible strides in their life. But it's the times when you're, like, literally what I say, on that bathroom floor, wondering if it could get any lower, right? Is there someone there ready to hold or lift you up? um, and I think that that's the key thing, that when we recognize this beauty within our relationships, that we just stayed. we stayed there. We didn't call out the drama like it was drama. We stayed there and held the drama and said, how can I support you? But
Yeah.
from our heart center.
Yeah. I got to
Right.
say something really funny for a minute. Y'all hear Tito?
Yeah.
Can you hear
Yeah.
Tino?
I was laughing through the dog snores and through
And so much for the clicking the button that says lower the background
background noise.
sound.
He must be right there under your foot.
But he's also been a part of our group since the beginning, because remember, I got him in during COVID. So he's been on my lap. He's too big to be on my lap anymore, but he's my office dog.
Tell us a little bit about Tito.
So Tino is, his full name is Constantino Martinez, named after the Yankee.
I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. So Constantino Martinez Sanchez is quite the name for a very full, large, Old English bulldog who he takes in my energy. He helps clear my energy. He's my therapy dog, although I wouldn't train him to be anyone else's. My last girl was a trained bulldog therapy dog. He's just like a bull in a china shop, but he loves to be by his mama. So yeah.
Yeah, we don't normally get to hear him, but we can today. That's too funny. He's just part of our group.
It's this great StreamYard. It's got such great
acoustics.
Audio.
Oh, I love it. One of the things that I've loved about our conversations throughout time, and we talked about this when we said, what do we want to share, is that we can have those difficult conversations, right? We can have those difficult conversations together. So we've talked about politics, we've talked about race, we've talked about LGBT issues, being a gay woman, and all of those different things. We can do that and not get angry about it. We might not agree all the time, but we can listen and we can be curious and we can ask questions in a safe environment. And I really value that. I really value that.
I think that happens too because we've matured together over the last 4 years, because I know I can get really fired up about it. But when we chat about anything, it's always coming from our heart center, right? Again, like Elizabeth said, it doesn't come with a whole lot of ego. It comes with a lot of curiosity and a lot of love and a lot of kindness.
Mm-hmm.
Kindness, that good old divine feminine energy that is what is empowering us to even be here right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also feel like, as a woman who works specifically with women, I felt there's a lot of trauma from growing up with our mothers, right? With, not specifically your mothers, but women have a lot of womb issues. And knowing that in the practice that I work in, that it's harder for women to see the greatness within each other, because for centuries we've had women shame each other. And we've witnessed this not only in our own lives as younger selves, but also our mothers tended to shame the other women outside of maybe our own family members or our circle. So friendships have not been something that we've seen as a representation in our specific lives. So I think this is beautiful because we're not just business friends, we're friends. So I know a couple weeks ago when I had something laying heavily on my heart and Cheryl wasn't here, but Larissa was like, do you want to still meet? And I said, I have something I need to share. Can I talk with you? And and because she understood it, she understood this situation with my son, and that I needed to share something because as a mom, she's already learned this path. It was beautiful for me to have somebody that I knew would understand, not just listen to me as a friend, right? Would be able to give me her perspective and her advice. And I value that. I value that. And I feel so grateful. Like when I get a text from Cheryl, hey, checking in on you. Are you okay? I know she just really cares. And that's so, so important that it just melts my heart to know that I have two friends from completely different walks of life in different parts of the world. And I can call you friends.
And to top it off, we've never met in person.
Never met in person. One
We're
day we will do that.
One day.
we're part of that new economy, that new anomaly in the world where you make friends across the world through the use of the internet. And
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of younger women that are doing that. I don't know how many women are in our age group that are doing that. So you all, this is to the people out there, this is a great way to meet like-minded women, people that you can bond with. Don't be afraid of the things that are happening on the internet. There's some really cool spaces out here. I have to laugh and not laugh, but go back to your statement about removing shame. And the thing that I heard you say is we are on a path and a road of ancestral healing. And where that is really bubbling up in the world today, you hear the terms, but to actually see it in motion is such a beautiful experience. And you mentioned that you do this in your practice. What is your practice, Elizabeth?
I'm laughing because it's a very loaded conversation. Um, my
High
practice,
level.
my practice is spiritual healing. Really, I've shown up as a life coach. I've shown up as a holistic practitioner, helping people get their bodies right. But presently, a lot of what's coming to me, and I go with what feels energetically in alignment with what's happening in life. Presently, what's happening is a lot of women and men are coming because they're healing those old wounds that that thought were right, that thought was the right way to go about living. It's hard to kind of explain it in so many words, but really just trying to not feeling right in our bodies. And when we don't feel like we belong in our own physical bodies, we don't belong in the world, or we don't feel like we belong in the communities that maybe we've been in for so many years, maybe the career choice that we've chosen, or the friend group that we've found ourselves in. So what I do is I help clear away some of that negative energy so it's not negative. So they realize, oh, like I just shed that skin and now that's an old version of me, and I'm renewing, I'm refreshing, and I'm becoming a new version, better than I was yesterday, because I'm more open, I'm more
So
willing.
really what you're saying is you're like a life energy spiritual coach, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And then what's really cool about this is that we've got like a circle of this. And Larissa has now kind of morphed her business into doing a lot of that. Larissa, talk about what you do too, because I just find it fascinating that 4 or 5 years ago, we were just strangers. And now how our lives have gone down the same path. So go ahead, Larissa.
But can I just interject there too? I think that 4 or 5 years ago, we were also trying to figure out, I know for me, like, could I just tell you that, yes, I get, these intuitive taps?
Hell no.
Because you might have been like, girl, you're a crazy woman.
I was about to be out when Larissa stated who she was. I was like, oh, no, no, no. Mm-mm. I'm not doing this.
And we didn't know each other then, right? And that's
Yeah.
exactly it. We've grown together. And it was, I was doing healing with creativity, and then was looking at moving into business, but hadn't yet. And then the death of my best friend, who was a shamanic practitioner. And then after her death, when I started getting those reminders that I need to bring spirit back because I had sort of pushed it away. And now it is such a vital part of my life. And it wasn't doing me any service by pushing it away. So changing things, and now the whole business has changed to, as women, we do need to heal. We do need to bring more spirituality, whatever that looks like for you. We need to bring more of the feminine energies into our lives. We live in a very masculine world, and so bringing those feminine energies in. But we need to do the work. And so, yeah, I do business and
What do you mean by do the work? I always have that question, like, what is do the work?
it's show up and do the hard things. You have to be comfortable being uncomfortable. So you have to, do the self-care. You have to really look at things that are holding you back. What are your limiting beliefs? What things are getting in your way that, you're pushing away and not embracing, so that you can look at them and go a little bit deeper into them. And we do that for each other too. We bring that up so that we can do that, right? In a loving way.
Yes, and I think that that's a really perfect point that I want to share. Especially as women in business, this is a new generation, right? When I grew up, my mother and father owned a business, but my mother didn't run the business, right? So being women in business, we have a lot of blocks that we're clearing and replacing to say we are worthy. It's okay for us to be spiritual beings, and going into that, where our old ancestors of women who were witches or women who were healers were stoned to death in our own family lines. I know my father has done the genealogy and found a woman in our bloodline who was stoned to death. So it's not so far removed that it was so many generations ago. It's like maybe a great grandmother of mine, not a long time ago. But now we're healing through those traumas to say it's okay to be spiritual healers or holistic healers or women in business making money, right? That's another block that we were told we shouldn't have control of the money.
We're
There's
not
so
good at
much.
money. We don't know what to do with it. We spend too much. All those stories. Yeah.
That we're too emotional, things like that. So I think that we're just really working towards becoming better versions of ourselves. And the three of us have been able to see it for one another and show one another that it's okay. We see that you have this old behavior that you're bringing along with you, but it's not working for you any longer. Do you want to clear that? And I know each one of us has cleared some of our old patterns and behaviors.
Yeah.
So thank you.
And we hold space for that, to do that. And it hasn't resonated with everyone though. Like, we started out with there was 6 or 8 of us at the beginning. I think there was 8 of us at the beginning when I came in. So I wasn't at the very beginning. I came in a little bit later to this mastermind, and it was just based on business at the time. It was just all about business, which was great, accountability. And then as it grew and we started to incorporate more of our lives and spirituality and healing, because it's so important, we've had people drop away that maybe weren't as comfortable with what we were talking about, or didn't feel that was the right space for them for whatever reason. I can't speak to why they left, but it was still really important to the 3 of us to continue because we were on this road together.
Yeah. And it's really that healing journey that has taken place amongst us that has brought us this far, because we were open and willing to listen to one another when there was a time when we needed to heal, right? I
Mhm.
remember there's been plenty of times when you all would be like, Cheryl, now think about this, blah, 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 blah,
Mhm.
and I would be like, oh, because we tie in the logic, the spiritual, the everyday life of living and doing what we do, and we tie in the entrepreneur spirit, wisdom, and experience.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Right? It's the spirit, the wisdom, and the experience that always propels us forward to the next stage. Like right now, we're all going through expansion in one way or another, right?
Mhm.
So I'm expanding, rebranding, finally finding my footing, finding grounding and where I'm going to stay for right now. And that we laugh about that because tomorrow I might change my mind. But right now I'm stable. I'm stuck where I'm not stuck. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, and it feels good. And I
Right.
appreciate that you all helped me to get there. It's been, it's been a great journey.
But I also want to touch base on that too, because I think, in the old ways, growing up, we come from families that would work for 40 hours a week for 40 years and then get the retirement watch and said, "Woo, you did a great job and now you can retire." And then all of a sudden you drop over because life has passed you by and you didn't actually live. Um, but what we're also trying to evolve from is new beginnings, right? So just because you rebrand your business within a year or 6 months because it just doesn't feel right, it's not wrong, right? We
Yeah,
think that that is wrong. We're just because it's an old pattern of behavior that we're not used to, that you start and stop and start and stop. You're not stopping, you're just shifting and rebranding because it's energy, and the energy of who you are isn't in alignment with the brand that you're putting out there, right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that, as far as I see. It's still putting out a great product, right?
Yeah, I don't want to misconstrue what was said. I don't think there was anything wrong. It's
No,
just
no,
that we're
no, I'm not
moving with
saying that for
oh,
you. I'm just saying in for the listeners
yeah.
who may say, "Oh, I'm changing. I'm changing and I'm changing again, or I'm doing this or I'm trying that." There's nothing wrong with that. The beautiful thing is you can, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And being business owners, we were just having this conversation before we started the meeting. Like, you get to decide. I remember the first time you all even brought that to me, right? Like, I was like, I don't want to do this at this time or whatever. And you all were like, you realize you're the business owner, right? You make the decisions about your timelines, what you're doing in your business. You get to say yes or no.
Mhm.
And I remember that was a huge aha for me because I came out of a corporate experience where I only got to do the 9 to 5 or 9 to 12 or whatever it was, right? And then all of a sudden, I got to make decisions. I was totally in control. I had experienced freedom at another level when I get to freely choose what my calendar looks like. I get to freely choose who I want to work with. If I want to be all up in working with just women or if I'm going to work with men, but I can definitely say yay or nay. Whereas in the traditional patriotic way, patriarchal, I can't say it right. You guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Way of doing things, we didn't have much choice. We just did what the system, the history, the roles that we've been placed in historically had put us through, and we just went with it. We stayed with it, and now we're as divine feminine souls busting out and just living our lives mentally, physically, spiritually at every level.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's often well, I went through the same thing too, right? It's like you start a business, oh, you've got to work in at 16 hours a day and, to prove yourself and you must produce, produce, produce. And as things have shifted and I've recognized that's not how I work. The feminine energies don't work that way. That is, the patriarchal society. that has been created. And
Patriarchal.
the patriarchy, you know, and that we need masculine energies and feminine energies. I just want to be clear with that, because often people think, you know, man hater, you know, lesbian, and feminine divine, oh, man hater. That's not it. It's energies. We're just talking about energies. And so we need both, but our society is very masculine heavy with the energy.
So when you say we need both, dive into that just a little bit more. Like, we as individuals need both in our lives. Talk
Yeah,
about that.
everyone needs both energies, right? More of a harmony of those energies, not so much a balance, but we have to be able to bring the feminine energies in, because we are so masculine energy heavy. So that produce, the action, you know, those are very masculine energies, but feminine energies are your intuition and working in community, self-care, empathy. Those are feminine energies. And so bringing those together in harmony to work together, right? You still need to take action. You still need to be able to produce things, but it's not just about that. There's so much more to it. And so allowing ourselves that space, and we've, you know, explored together through this. We've explored separately and brought information together. And, you know, we're at different levels of, you know, where we're at. And I've come back into my spirituality after quite a gap. And I know, Cheryl, things have changed for you over the years as well. And to the point where, yeah, at the beginning you were a little scared of me, and it's like, I don't want anything to do with that. And, you know, and then to now you're like, oh yeah, I want more of that. I want more of that. Yeah.
So yeah, for me, the transition has been, it's always been in me, but now, instead of just referring to Jesus, you know, I prefer to say Gus or God, right? Gus is God, universe, spirit. And I remember, you know, quite a few months ago when I had the aha moment. Sorry, y'all, you see what's happening. I was thinking, on TV shows, they must do a cut, because all these other women are going through menopause too. So cut, I'm patting down. So going from Jesus to God, universe, spirit has really been an amazing transition for me. Always had it in me, always felt like it was odd to have this thing where there was only one way. That was always interesting, but I came out of the womb a spiritual being, as all of us do. I don't want to speak for everyone, but that's my belief. And I've evolved in that. And I remember having a really specific aha moment on the Jesus front, where I read the Bible all the time. And I remember there being a conversation in there where he said he would send the Spirit. And that right there just set me adrift. I was like, perfect. Now I get it, you know, for me in the way that I am flowing in my spirituality right now. So,
Right.
Yeah.
But, and in the Bible does, and I'm not a religious person, and I was not raised a religious person, but around religious people. But the Bible does state, like, even as Reiki practitioners, we see, like, oh, Jesus laid the hands for healing.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's something to it. And the beautiful thing is, I just said to a client yesterday, who is seeking validation that his past loved one is safe in spirit, right? And I said, what I teach is not against religion. It's fine you have a religion. That's a story, right? That's the story. But spirituality is bringing in a higher vibrational awareness to all the dimensions of what is here for us, to live through us, to help us, guide us, assist us in everyday living. So I think I love what you're saying, Cheryl, is that, you know, you evolved because you saw one story. But
Right.
as you then see in that story, because you pull yourself back from the story, and then you hear something within that story that says, oh, it's safe for me to bring in spirit
Yeah.
and invite in that energy.
And I think there's an awakening going on in the world right now anyway. And well, I don't want to take this too deep into the whole religious spiritual thing, but if you look back even at history, there's I don't want to use the word reckoning, but I'm going to use the word reckoning that takes place every couple hundred years. And we appear, from what I am observing, to be in a reckoning of some sort. And it's a beautiful but dark space at the same time. So if you stay in your heart and you pay attention to the signs and all of that, then you start to see that there's this new spiritual essence that's waking up in many of us. And it's a good space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it goes back to that word faith, having faith,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
Having faith and belief that there is something higher, that there is something for the greater good that is happening. And unfortunately, sometimes darkness happens. It's light, right? It's life. It's the dark comes and then the light happens. And it's a cycle that is continuous, everlasting, never ending, darkness and light.
Yeah.
Right, y'all, I keep
Feminine.
looking down to see if there's anybody joining on the thing. That's what I keep looking at because I know you all think I've got ADD going on over here. I'm just trying to trying to monitor the technology too.
And on that note, if there's anybody out there, I know, Cheryl, you put out a message, but if there's anyone out there who has questions or comments, please put them in the chat. They do come in to us, and then we can address them or say thank you. So please, if you do, we would love to have you join our conversation. And so as our group, as we've evolved over time and come down to the three of us that are steadfast, we don't only just meet our once a week sometimes either, right? We come together to do, other projects like this. We, teach together. We've done different things together, but also we can reach out and be like, I'm struggling with this, or, oh, I had this really great thing happen. And we know that we're going to be there for each other. And I don't know that I have that with a lot of other people, right? Like there's certain things you go to, for this or for that, but I can come to you two for anything, good, bad, or otherwise, right?
Aw.
Yeah. That's what I feel.
Heart.
Yeah.
Oh, I have my heart on too.
I thought about
Oh,
that
now I feel
earlier
left
when we met.
Oh,
I was like, look, she's got her heart on too.
I
And that's
know.
a funny statement right there. Remember when I was growing up, my mom used to be, you wear your heart on your sleeve. Yeah, because I'm an empath. But nobody told me that back then. So life was a challenge. But now I'm like, yep, I sure do.
Yep.
And
And it's
no,
okay to be a highly sensitive human, right? It's
yes.
okay to tune into being a sensitive person because it's not a curse. And well, for some people, they think it's a curse. And I know that for me, and even maybe you, Cheryl, and maybe you, Larissa, felt like you were so weird because you wanted to cry when you went into a group, even when there was strangers, right? You were just having all the feels and not knowing what all those feels were or whose were they. But then you're weird, right? Then you're strange. You're labeled as somebody who is different, and you don't feel good in many spaces or places. But now I think, again, as the energy is shifting in the world, the sensitive human, or empath, some like to call it, is being accepted and being allowed to show up, but then using those sensitivities to be a gift, and a gift for others. I just taught a Reiki class this week, and there was 5 empaths in the class.
Ooh,
5. Yeah.
That had to be interesting.
It was beautiful. It was, I mean, every class I always have like a couple, but this one, they were all empaths, like struggling as
Yeah.
in life. Very
Mhm.
well educated,
Yeah.
wise women, but struggling in all parts of their lives because they don't know how to maneuver and navigate through life as a highly sensitive person. And now they're finally getting it. I just checked in on them yesterday and they're like, wow, you know? So that's the beautiful thing of like just being able to talk about it. It makes people go, oh my gosh, I'm not so crazy. I'm not the only crazy.
You know, the other crazy thing about us three is that we're all Reiki practitioners now.
Mhm.
I'm the last one to enter into the conversation. But when I did it, I was like, what is this? Right? I mean, I always knew that there was something special in my hands. But to read the manual and get that lady, I forget her name, Susan somebody or another, whatever her name is, to get her perspective on the woman healing path and how we could use our hands. And we've seen in the Bible that healing can come through your hands, touching this and touching that. But the way that it was broken down, and even in the Reiki book, one of the things I was really fascinated by was the fact that maybe Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, all of them hung out together. And we never really ever hear that in the world, right? And that was just like, what? They all kind of come from the same cloth? Imagine
Mhm.
that.
But think about the oneness, the interconnection, right? And I think that's the key thing for us to realize. Like, if you look at the trees and their roots, they're all interconnected in all parts of the world. So, not one person is, standing alone. They're all interconnected through the roots of the trees. So, how, if the world or the globe is all connected, right, as a Mother Earth, and we are the beings standing on that earth, how could we not also be interconnected and energetically, right? I see it all the time in my workshops that one person will have a feeling or something going on in her life or his life, and so will another person or multiple people in that energy. Even they see one another as one. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
Yeah. That
It's so
energetic
basic.
connection. We are
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, Masterclass 1111 is going to be about that this year ish.
We are one. Yeah.
Hold a, put a thumbprint or a pinpoint in that or whatever it's called, thumbnail. But what I want to talk about, as you talked about the roots and things reaching down, it reminded me of the principles of grounding, right? And the whole energy in grounding. I know I'm kind of tangenting or going off on a tangent, but when you talked about the roots, like how much time do we now spend outside getting grounded? It doesn't even have to be outside. I actually got one of those grounding sheets. Did I tell you guys about that?
Mhm. Mhm.
And I'm swearing by it. I am confident it is helping my sleep.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what do you guys think about grounding? How do you think it's impacting lives, your life?
Well, it's necessary, right? We are so scattered otherwise. And
Sorry,
so
so tell what grounding is because I didn't say.
it's like coming back to center. It's I mean, ideally you're going to put your feet on the ground, right? In nature, ideally. But it's coming back to center and stopping everything else from spinning and just breathing. Just come back to breath, feet on the
Yeah.
ground. I usually do it in the house now, but I do try to get outside more and more because nature's so important. But just allowing yourself that space to come back to nothing else. Like everything else can just wait. Everything else can just wait.
Just
And that's
being.
yeah,
Yeah.
and just be.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Just being.
One of the tools that I love to share is that, like, I keep crystals, or a palm stone on my desk, especially because of the technology. And you've got yours, see? And even my little boy, he sleeps with his heart stone, or he's got selenite or whatever it is, that it helps him to ground and come back to earth. So for those who don't want to spend money on earthing sheets or grounding sheets, the rocks are energy. It's Mother Earth. It's all the minerals that are in our body already. So it helps us just calm down, bring peace back to the body, bring harmony back, bring the balance of the feminine and the masculine. So I think that it's a really simple and great way to bring earth into your life or into your daily. If you can't get outside, bring it in.
For me, I love walking. So that's where a lot of my grounding comes in, getting out there. And I've gotten more where I'm walking around just barefoot in the house, right? And clean my floors and walk around in the house. I know we only got a few more minutes left. Is there anything that you all want to specifically share as we wrap up? Oh, yes, Larissa.
I just sent a message saying we should wrap up. Yes.
No, I think this has been great. I mean, I think for the listeners, if they're going to take a nugget or a tool from what we shared today, there's so much, not just about alliance and girlfriendship and connection, and really diving deeper with some of your own friends to be able to ask them more in-depth questions about who they are. Just hold space, not to be angry if they have a different opinion. Just maybe start to see how they are thinking, but not put yourself in the mix of their stuff. Just hold the space.
Yeah, that's a really important one. That I think connection is such a big thing that's missing in our world now. I know Simon Sinek talks about this a lot, about loneliness and lack of connection. And it is such an important part to have that. And I feel very blessed to have that.
Yeah. And for me, I agree with you. I think community is everything, and that we are better together than separated. And that's what we've begun to create here. So I appreciate you all so much.
Yeah, me too. And, being able to say, I love you.
I love you.
Love you.
We do. We end our calls like that.
Yeah.
I love you. Yeah. All right. I'm going to end us if we're all right.
I am complete. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.